Today's Swole Fam Spotlight is from Jacob. What's going on, Beaches? Welcome to the Daily Swole Podcast, episode 2683. It is Sunday, September 10th, and today is our Ask Papa Swolio Live. So we're just taking tons of questions today, but before we get started, let's read Jacob's post. And he writes, I have always been on the bigger side all my life and have never been happy with it. Fat burners, crash diets had been a consistent thing for over the last 9 years or so. I'm 27 years old. Nothing ever seemed to have lasting results. Yo-yo weight loss was just who I was at that point. About 6 years ago, I was down to 210 pounds, and then 6 months later, back up to 240 pounds. Then, 2 years ago, I was given the gift of Papa Swolio. I was hooked from then on out. Well, so I thought. It was great for a while, changed my diet, worked out 7 days a week, and then I had to pick up a second job to help pay for my wife and our wedding. I quit working out, ate horribly. It was an excuse, but it was what it was. All of a sudden, I woke up one day and I ballooned to 282 pounds. I knew I needed to do something, started counting my calories, but it was all crap food still. I managed to get down to 258 pounds. It, however, did not last. Then in August of this last year, I got serious, started listening to all the old podcasts and going to the gym, changed my diet to the good stuff, got back on track. I did not track my weight loss, however, until the day after Thanksgiving. I'm now down 9 pounds from that day, but more importantly, I'm down from a 2XL to about a large with 4 inches off my waist. It is all because of the Swole Fam. You guys keep me going. Everyone is so inspirational and loving. Thank you for everything, guys. I love every one of you. Thanks for reading my rambling mess of a post. Haha. Awesome, Jacob. Thank you for sharing. If you're ready to join Jacob and the rest of the Swole Fam, go to swolenormousx.com and join the fam today. Jacob obviously was going through some fluctuations, wasn't really focusing on what he should have been. But of course, once you lock down your 7 pillars, the results will come. So thank you for sharing, Jacob. Awesome post, and glad that you are continuing to crush it. That being said, tomorrow's episode at 12 noon Eastern time is private for members only. Yet another reason to join the Swole Fam. Monday is our world famous accountability meeting, 12 noon Eastern time for members only. We have new releases, and of course, we'll read some awesome Swole Fam posts and have a private member Q&A. And it's going to be awesome. So had a big week this past week. We had a roundtable on Thursday, number 51, and we had an awesome overtime segment with a brand new Drive Mole Gaining, which is available now in Swole TV for members. So again, join us, swolenormousx.com. Join the Swole Fam today. Stop making excuses and stop putting off the inevitable. You know, if you keep on putting it off, you're just going to stay the same and or get fatter. You're not going to be moving forward. You're going to be unlikely to even be staying the same. You're going to be sliding backwards. If you're not trying to push forwards, you're moving backwards. So stop moving backwards today. It's not going to get easier. We're coming up on Fuck Your Resolution season starting October the 1st, and it's not going to get easier. So if you think you're going to wait till next month, you're wrong. You're just making an excuse, and you're procrastinating so you can make more socially acceptable excuses in the next few months. A lot of people say they're going to put it off, or I'm busy, this, that, and the other, because in a week or two or a month or 2 months, it's going to be much more socially acceptable to make bullshit excuses and to not start and to fuck off from your nutrition and your training. I really don't even think of it as nutrition or eating a certain way and focusing. It's just how you should be living. You can still integrate social environments and functions. You just have to be doing things for the right reasons. And most people have no idea what they're doing. They're not doing it with any purpose. They're just mindlessly eating and following every instant impulse that they have. So it's going to become more and more socially acceptable to eat shit and be a lazy fat fuck, especially when it gets colder in a lot of your climates, not necessarily in Florida. It does get cooler, but doesn't get freezing, doesn't have snowstorms and stuff like that. But it gets more and more acceptable, which is unfortunate. Not in terms of the Swole Fam, but it gets more and more acceptable in society to eat shit. Of course, you're going to have potlucks and Thanksgiving, and everyone's going to be baking bullshit and cookies, and we're surrounded by addicts. We're surrounded by addicts on prescription medications, addicted to food, addicted to TV, just drug addicts all around us. So you have to make sure that you separate yourself from that noise and understand that if you haven't gotten your shit together, it's not going to get easier in the next few months. But I'll be here every step of the way to make sure that your taint is swollen from me giving it a nice uppercut. I'll make sure you get the knowledge cock every day, as always. Thanks for being here. Subscribe, hit the thumbs up button. Let's get into today's episode. Ask Papa Swolio Live, 2683. The following program is rated TV MANOC. It contains a big pair of nuts directly on your chin. It is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion advised.
Hi everyone!
What's up, bro?
I don't think I've done like a general introduction yet as to who I am, so I thought I would do that now.
I can't stand stupidity. If you're going to say stupid shit.
Hi, my name is Bunny and I use bun pronouns.
What is your problem, man?
I am a gender fluid, trans femme, pan-romantic, great ace, white passing Japanese person.
Obesity is epidemic in the United States and a major cause of death.
What is fat activism?
I, a fat person, am sharing my own lived experience.
Pizza is a vegetable.
Your fat phobia is your problem.
It is not my place as a smaller-bodied white man to comment on it.
Radical body positivity.
What can men do against such reckless hate?
There's only one man who can help me.
This is for you new people. I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits.
This day we fight!
Full normal.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Testing. Testicles. Welcome, everyone, to episode 2683 of the Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular swolecast, beercast, broadcast, gaincast, mancast, pimpcast, sleazecast, and slaycast in the realm. Because when I flex, you flex, we all flex our biceps. What's going on, beaches, booshes, busters, hustlers, and yahos? It's your boy, Papa Swolio, back with another episode. And today's episode is brought to you, is powered, is sponsored by Everest and K2, flexing on all you beaches.
Yeah, it's the fucking Catalina wine mixer.
It's the fucking Catalina wine mixer.
All right, fam. Thanks for being here. Hope you are taking care of your 7 pillars. Download your free copy, swolenormousx.com. We have Ask Papa Swolio live today, so just taking questions. You could start dropping them in the comments down below. Hashtag Ask Papa Swolio. So we're going to jump right into it. Drop your questions in the comments. Let's fucking go. Tomorrow, by the way, before we get the card out, tomorrow, Monday, September 11th, 12 noon Eastern time, we have our world famous accountability meeting. We got live private member Q&A. We have new releases, and we will also have some awesome Swole fan posts. We'll see you tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern time. It's going to be lit. Members only. Join us, swolenormousx.com. Now let's get into today's episode. Let's summon the Falcon. What are you smashing today? Drop it in the comments. Here we go, beaches. Falcon. Make America Swole. Drop that in the chat. Make America Swole.
Fuck yeah!
I think everyone can agree with that. We need to make America swole. All right, drop that. MAS, Make America Swole. We will give that swole card away at the end of today's episode. Now let's get into some questions. Live questions, hashtag Ask Papa Swolio. We'll start off with Jessica in the chat. Starting the elimination diet next week, Papa Swolio. Currently working on my shopping list. I see balsamic and apple cider vinegar listed. Is malt vinegar also fine if doing full elimination? Looking for dressing options. Not really sure what you need to use dressing for with an elimination diet. I would just keep that kind of stuff minimal. You can't test anything that you're using. So apple cider vinegar, maybe sparingly, is fine. Balsamic is fine sparingly. I'm just not sure what you would use, what you're using dressings for. I really do need to redo the elimination. There's a lot of stuff that I personally wouldn't recommend eating, like spinach salad, for example. I would never recommend someone eat that. So I would recommend going more towards carnivore. It's just a recommendation because you're only doing it for 6 to 8 weeks. So the more things you eliminate, especially high oxalate foods like spinach, like broccoli, get that kale shit out of there. I really don't recommend people eat that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of things that have not been updated on the Nutrition Jumpstart and the elimination diet. I really do think the more you go towards a carnivore is essentially a full elimination. You're eliminating everything and you're going to be getting all your nutrients. So it's really important to make sure that you are understanding the process of the elimination. You can't test what you don't remove. And a lot of foods that you might not realize that are robbing you of minerals, that are robbing you of vitamins, that are robbing you of absorption of certain elements, you might be consuming. And vegetables are very well known for this. So just make sure that you are aware. And then you can test things one at a time. But I do not have a good relationship with those types of greens, for example, like spinach, like the oxalates that my tongue will just burn like crazy. I've never felt good eating that stuff. I never felt good eating it, tasting it. And afterwards, my tongue will burn like crazy. I don't miss it at all. So just thinking. Yeah, there's a lot of things that need to be updated. There's a lot of things that need to be updated with that. I think oatmeal is still listed. But again, the reasoning for the initial launch of that and some of the foods that are said to be acceptable. Remember, acceptable is all relative. I have my own personal opinions on certain foods, but if someone doesn't really have any psychological or real physical reactions to certain things, I'm not here to control what you eat. It's just a logical recommendation from how a lot of these products are processed or sprayed or, with pesticides and things of that sort. But it's a lot better than where people are used to eating. So I wanted to make sure at the time, this was like 7 years ago, I wanted to make sure at the time that there were foods that would help people transition from the garbage they're normally eating and make it a little bit more, not I want to say palatable from a taste standpoint, but palatable from a psychological standpoint that will get them moving in that direction. So again, if you're eating certain things, whatever you're eating, you're not gonna be able to test because you're consuming them. So for the elimination diet, it's also important to understand it depends on how many current problems you're having. Some people have a lot of autoimmune issues. Some people really have a lot of things that need to really clean sweep. So the more serious your situation, the more dire, the more you want to go complete full out. Because remember, you're testing this. It's not like a lot of times what you'll find is you'll essentially be more or less on an elimination diet the rest of your life. And it's not this restrictive mindset. It's just whatever you customize, moving from this control period of like 8 weeks, then you can branch out and you'll be more sensitized and you'll be able to test things individually. So that's all this is. This period is just you resetting, getting a lot of these things out of your system. That way you can really experience how they actually interact with your body. Because right now you're used to consuming them. Any kind of inflammation, any kind of issues, you're already used to that. So you have to make sure you separate yourself from the current situation. That way you can have perspective. If you're in the middle of it, you're not going to be able to test them. So anything you don't remove, you can't test by default. Okay, reminder, we are 17 days away, P3S8. P3S8 is going to drop. Wow. And it's going to be fucking Liddy McTitterson. 9/27/23 P3S8 available for 24 hours only. swolenormousx.com/signature. Very excited. Everyone's amped for P3S8. Everyone's got their P3S7 in hand. So P3S8, it's coming up soon. All right. let's get into a call. We got one call today from Magnus. If you want to call into the show, you can do so at any time. AskPapaSwolio.com. I highly encourage you doing so. Magnus is on the line.
Hey, I was wondering, what are your thoughts on Christianity? You seem like a very spiritual person, and throughout my fitness journey, I've come to realize like there's fitness and faith go hand in hand. So I was just wondering kind of your thoughts on that. I've definitely relied on God as a figure throughout my journey because I went from morbidly obese to I think I'm resting at 170 pounds right now. So I just want to know your thoughts on that.
Interesting question. I don't know how I come across as a spiritual person, but I do believe the foundations of morality that's in many religions is important. And I think the fact that our country is becoming has become more secular over time is a huge issue, because what happens is when you have, let's say, a religious community, when you have a spiritual community locally, right? That is where we know pillar number one, for example, pillar number one is community. So if you look at pillar number one and the importance of community, a lot of people had that through their church, through their local, organizations and such. And because of the breakdown of that, technology, the state takes its place. So human beings are going to believe in something. Human beings are going to look to an authority figure. If it's not God, it's going to be the government. And that's why we're seeing the dramatic rise of totalitarianism. And because of that breakdown of community, right? Like during the lockdowns and the pandemic, you had churches being shut down. Like you couldn't go to like services. You couldn't do those things. You couldn't gather. You had to be separated. And that breakdown of community, that breakdown of human interaction is the prime way to isolate the individual. And then that's where you have that kind of authoritarian control step in. It's the prime breeding ground for that. And you had alcohol. You could buy alcohol. You could buy liquor. You can get fast food, but you couldn't go to the gym. You couldn't go to your local church. You couldn't do all these things with community. So I think that's the most important aspect of it. Morality is very important, of course, but that togetherness and that community. And of course, you can find that in many different aspects, but the community, that kind of belief system, the structure of the family, the localized structure of the church and local religious groups and things like that in your local community is extremely important. So you can have your own spirituality. You can believe in what you want. You can believe in whatever concept of God or higher power that you wish, but the fundamental aspect of this type of Christianity or anything along that sort, the foundational thing that's the most important that we are lacking today is the community aspect. So that's why it's pillar number one. And, I think that's a huge issue, because if you don't have that, then obviously you have the authoritarian state steps in. And that's why people are so eager to govern me harder, daddy. That's why people are so eager to look towards those types of sources of control and to give up more and more of their freedoms, because that's, human beings are going to replace God with government. That's just how it works. So it's actually very, very important from that standpoint. Interesting question. Haven't heard that before. But of course, when it comes to morality, when it comes to taking care of yourself, when it comes to taking care of yourself, there's morality in that, right? You see these fat activists that say food isn't good or bad. Well, first you have to define what you mean by that, because that's a subjective answer. That's vague. Even when you say the word fitness, it's vague. It's a vague answer. What does fitness mean? How are you defining fitness? What fitness means to different people mean different things. What does wellness mean? What does health mean? Because we see health care, that's like it's just like 1984, where you have the Ministry of Truth, which is all lies, the Ministry of Love, where they torture people. So you have health care, it's really sick care. So you have all these structures that, where was I going to go with that? With taking care, in terms of taking care of your body, I do think there is a moral prerogative in terms of respecting yourself, eating proper food, exercising, taking care of yourself, being peaceful, strengthening and expanding your mind, learning, knowledge, reading, communicating. I think all those things are very important. So I do think that fitness and godliness or spirituality or Christianity or whatever it is, I do think there's a lot of correlation in terms of taking care of yourself, right? Taking care of your soul, taking care of your body. A lot of people think that the body doesn't matter. It's like, oh, this is just temporary. Well, that's not the point. The point is you're living with intent. You're living with purpose. You're living without this kind of, loss of meaning. And that's what happens. And when we lose religion, when we lose these types of communities, you lose a lot of meaning. You lose a lot of meaning. We can go down the rabbit hole of feminism and things like that lead to women today and the lack of the family. We lose meaning as human beings because we lose that connection. We lose that intimacy. And that's what family is all about. And the fact that the family is broken apart, like in our culture, in Western culture, we don't have extended family. In other cultures, you have the parents living with the grandparents, or everyone's living in the same community or the same house and everyone's really close. And we don't have that. You don't need to find daycare. You don't need to spend $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month on daycare in other cultures because you have the family close by and everyone raises each other, right? You have a community. It takes a village, but we don't have villages. We have 15-minute cities. We have this disparate type of digital separation that breaks everything apart, which causes fear, anxiety. So you have a lot of ability for these types of authoritarian control to step into people's lives and continuously chip that apart and break that apart. And this is why in books like 1984, you see the spies, the kids tattle on their parents and community tattles on each other. So when we had the lockdowns, what'd you have? You had people pointing, oh, the unvaccinated, the dirty, filthy, kind of hearkening back to, the post-depression German era, the deplorables, the unvaccinated, the filthy rats, the plague rats. You just instead of having community coming together, you have people separating, breaking apart. And we had that at the beginning. There was that at the beginning. Remember, people were like applauding nurses and everyone was like together and helping each other and like, oh, let's help each other all together. But then when they continuously, it was just a complete psyop. And it was done very well. And we're still dealing with the ramifications of that kind of separation and that elimination. You had children, people separating 6 feet. We're human beings. We're not meant to be separated. We've evolved and we're where we are today because of community. So I know that's a big answer, but it leads towards everything. Cracks in that foundation, but that fundamental approach. Why do you think everything was like separated, digital, blah, blah, blah. Break apart the family, separate the kids from the parents, right? Indoctrination. Because when you separate, when you isolate, then you can continue to take more control. Cause a lot more anxiety, a lot more fear. And then when there's anxiety, when there's fear, you can direct the anger, you can direct that anger and that angst towards an othering group, which continues to break apart the community. And of course, you can step in and be the savior and be like, well, we'll help you. We have the magic pill. We have the magic drug. We will do this. All we're going to do is we're going to, remove this to make you safer and feel safer. And that is supposed to assuage the fear and anxiety, but it just perpetuates more fear and anxiety because you take more control and more meaning away, and it keeps on going. Big answer. Good question. Thanks for it. Appreciate it. AskPapaSwolio.com if you want to ask questions. Woof, that got deep. That was really deep, huh?
Because
that was super deep, but we like that. We like that. We like deep. Let's go from a good question to a silly question. Louis GG, how can I exercise more my abdominals? By doing spinal extension and flexion. Do some hanging leg raises, get that spine moving, practice some yoga. If you think you're going to exercise your abdominals and then get more visual abs, you're wrong. It's nutrition. You got to make sure that you stop eating like a fat fuck. Wow, that's not English, but Madman 2128. Tell me a juicy. Is that like Juicy Smoulier? Was that the Chappelle or is that the Chris Rock bit? I forget. I think that was Chappelle. Juicy Smoulier. Tell me a juicy, Jusei, juicy. That's how I'm going to spell juicy from now on. Juicy bicep workout. Do some fucking curls. Do some preacher curls. Do some hammer curls. You're done. That's a juicy bicep workout. You don't need fancy exercise. You need to train the basic ones harder. That's what she said. Our Hexant exists. Fam, hashtag Ask Papa Soy in the live chat. Let's get some good questions again. We got a good call. We're off to a great start, and then we just fucking flatlined. Papa Soy, I'm trying to bulk, but my weight is not increasing. Please give some tips. You're not eating enough. You're not eating enough. Matt Damon for you.
Matt Damon.
You're just not eating enough. You're not. If you're not gaining weight, now, of course, if you gain weight, you might be gaining fat. You might not be gaining muscle. But if you're not gaining, you're not eating enough. It's not easy to eat real food and to eat sufficiently. You only need about 0.7 or 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, maybe up into a gram per pound. You're probably getting more than you need, but at least you're having at least enough that you need, right? So there's an argument of like how much you actually need. I think everyone's different, but as long as you have enough, and if you're eating a pound or gram per pound of body weight, you're probably eating more than you need, but at least you have extra. Okay, so there's that. But if you're not gaining, you're not training hard enough, you're not eating enough. And remember, if you keep on eating more food, you'll gain weight, but you don't want to gain weight. You want to gain fat, muscle. You don't want to gain fat. So I'm trying to bulk, but my weight is not increasing. That's not really the way you should be thinking. You should be tracking your workouts. Are you improving in strength? Are you building muscle mass? Weight is not the goal. Muscle is the goal. Okay. Shamir. When bulking, should I base my protein intake on my current weight or target weight? Good question. It could be both. You want to be eating at least what you need. So we're just talking about protein intake. Overall caloric intake can be slightly more than what you maintain at. You're not going to know until you actually track this over the course of weeks. But if you're getting around 0.7 to 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, up to a pound or gram per pound of body weight. So if you're 180, up to 180 grams, what is that? If you do 0.8, I don't know, 150, 140. So whatever that number is, that's approximate. So you're going to have to see. You're going to have to see what works best for you. So do it on your current weight, because if you're eating more, you're going to eat more. I mean, you're going to be eating more than what you maintain at. So bottom line, you want to be consuming more than you need. That way you have the tools plus a little extra, and you'll put on muscle and weight over time. Again, you don't want to be putting on tons of fat. So if you're gaining weight really quickly, you're just gaining a lot of fat and water weight. So you're going to have to trim that off. And a lot of people bulk and then cut and then just go back to where they were because they did it. Bulking meaning putting on muscle, you don't do this for 2 months or 3 months. People bulk for like 8 weeks. You're not gaining anything. If you're actually bulking, trying to pack on, you got to be doing this for like 8 months to a year. There's no question you got to bulk for much longer periods of time. It takes a lot longer to build muscle, especially as you get more advanced. And you don't need to be in a crazy surplus. So it's like incremental over time. But that's why when you're doing, for example, in Swolenormous X, we have the program Maximum Swole. You can track your progress. You get to see your strength improving. You know you're building muscle. You know you're improving in strength. And then you could be a little more analytical with it. When you hit plateaus, you can adjust accordingly. It's not just eat more, because eating more doesn't make you stronger. You have to create the proper stimulus, but then you need to give your body the tools and have the materials in order to repair the tissue bigger and stronger. Okay. Let's see. Aaron from the Telegram. Does anyone do yoga twice in a day? I'm tempted to do them on my recovery days like today. Had a thick boy leg day yesterday. Sure. You could do yoga twice in a day. I wouldn't do 2 vinyasa classes, so it depends. You could do yin twice a day. You could do a recovery flow and then yin later. It's totally fine. If it's a new stress, it might be too much over time. But when it comes to yoga, if you're doing yin, it's really hard to do too much yin. I'm not sure if it's even possible. I guess it is. I guess anything's possible. But if you're doing vinyasa flows or a strength flow, personally, I'm not a big fan of those because I do a lot of intense weight training. So doing a vinyasa flow or a level 2 or level 3 flow rarely will come into my world just because it's not something that I need in terms of strength. So they're beneficial, but you don't necessarily need an intense flow. If you're doing heavy weight training, yin and recovery flows are the best. So you can do it twice in one day. As long as the stress is low, as long as the intensity is low. In yin, there's no intensity. I shouldn't say no, but It's more about not moving and easing into the stretch. It's very, very much active recovery. Abdullah Latif 77, Papa Swolio, is cardio important? Yes, it's important. Cardiovascular capacity and training is important. To what extent and how much you need to do, that's an argument for what you're trying to accomplish. Remy Paria, Papa Swolio, your thoughts about meat-only diets? I think it's great to do a full elimination. Whether it's long-term is questionable. I don't like not having carbs, like in terms of fruit or raw dairy. And plus, a lot of times people that just eat meat, they're eating lean muscle meat. You need to be eating organs and nose to tail. So if you're eating only meat, it's very imperative that you get a lot of organ meats in so you can get all your nutrients. You might be deficient in things like magnesium. You might have, other issues. But this is why I think, meat and fruit, maybe select plant foods, aside from fruit, are beneficial. Those are my thoughts on it. A lot of people just eat steak, like lean steak all the time. And then it's like, well, you're not getting all your nutrients. Shouldn't just be eating muscle meat. Katie, Papa Swolio, on the elimination diet, you say carnivore is best. What should I eat? Eggs? Aren't some people allergic to eggs? Yes. Some people are allergic to peanuts. Some people are allergic to anything. I was contemplating excluding them for the elimination diet too. I eat eggs for breakfast probably 4 days a week. What do you think is a good, there's a lot of questions here. What do you think about a good bone broth protein powder smoothie for breakfast? It isn't sweetened, just plain. Bone broth protein powder smoothie. I don't know. If it's not sweet, if it's just plain, there's probably sunflower lecithin or soy lecithin, or I don't know what a bone broth protein powder is. Some people are allergic to eggs. I mean, you want to make sure you're getting pastured eggs. So, and don't just be eating the whites. That's for sure. I mean, if I say carnivore, leaning more towards carnivore is better because you'll be able to have more range in what you test. A lot of times people have issues with vegetables. They don't realize plant foods or oils and gluten and things like that they're consuming. So if you're eating if you're eating a lot of these aspects of foods, even if they're whole foods, you're eating a lot of broccoli and spinach and kale, it's not an elimination diet because these things can bind to very important nutrients like calcium and inhibit absorption. So it's very important to understand that this elimination diet, this initial 8-week period is temporary. You might stick more to that in the future and be like, hey, I really like this way of eating plus a couple extra foods. So instead of elimination, you can just think of it as like my customization period. So what you're doing is you're going down to the lowest common denominator, because then anything you bring in, you could test individual things. If you're eating 50 things during this 8-week period, there could be 30 of those things that are also causing you small little problems. You don't notice it because you've never removed them. Sometimes you don't notice, and a lot of people, you could drop in the chat, a lot of people do the elimination and they thought they felt fine. And how many of you thought you felt pretty good before you did the elimination with some things, and then you added a food back in after a couple months, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, and it fucked you up? It's because your body adapts to it. Your body adapts to, those low levels of inflammation or issues. And you might have thought something was not a concern, but then you added it back in the future, and all of a sudden it jacked you up, and you had you had bloating and your stomach was hurting or nauseous or diarrhea. And you're like, whoa, I would never have expected that to cause me problems. Your body will adapt to things very well. So when I say going towards carnivore, it's like, yeah, I would lean towards getting your nutrients, but eliminating as many things as possible just for this period. That way, when you test that, you have more things to test. I'm not saying you can never have a banana again. I'm not saying you can never have, I don't know, whatever it is. So for example, if you're eating a certain way, if you suspect that you have an egg allergy, then yeah, you should remove eggs to test them. Or you do this and you go carnivore for this period, and then in the future you test, and then you add some other things back in, then you test eggs separately. You could do individual things for testing after the initial fact. I mean, eggs, people can have an egg allergy, but it depends on what your reaction to them is. And some people are different, and quality of eggs matters. You want to get corn and soy-free eggs whenever possible. You are what your food eats. All these things become part of the food. And a lot of eggs will say antibiotic free, but sometimes these eggs are injected with antibiotics in the shell. So technically it's antibiotic free because it's not fed or done after they hatch. So there's a lot of evil that goes into the food production industry that they get around. So I think if like they perform antibiotic or these types of things like when it's an embryo, they can get away legally with saying it's antibiotic free or it's not, X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of weird shit like that. So you want to get high quality eggs from a local farm, pastured, corn, soy free, and all these things whenever possible. There's a lot of local stuff you could do, farmers markets. You can find things locally. Remember, whatever you don't remove, you can't test. So if you feel great and you're eating all these vegetables and you want to do that, it's your life. I don't recommend it. It's not my thing, but my life is not your life and you can do what you want. But if you're also having issues and you're just lying to yourself and you're pretending like, oh, this can't be it because you're dogmatic and you're ideological about these, green things and these plants that you're eating. It's like, well, that's your problem, right? A lot of people have issues, and you get this with a lot of vegans because you're so ideological about, oh, I'm saving the animals or I'm saving the environment, which you're doing neither. You keep on forcing this kind of ideological nutrition, which is completely separated from reality. So you're just harming yourself and lying to yourself about it. So you keep on trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And if you have problems, you have to be honest with yourself. Why am I having problems? Why am I having issues with my teeth? Why am I having sleep issues? Why am I having skin issues? A lot of people they're trying to figure out why they have all these problems while still doing the same thing and forcing themselves to eat nutrient void foods. And it's like, well, you're just harming yourself. So you have to separate. You cannot have an identity around it. You can't I identify as a carnivore. I am a carnivore. That's a weird thing to say. It's the same thing as saying I am a vegan. That's a dangerous thing to say. You're not a vegan. You're a human. You're a person. You eat a certain way. Maybe that way of eating is not ideal for your body, regardless of your emotions and what you think. Right? People want to seem virtuous. They want to feel like they're making a difference. I'm telling you, eat a salad, you're not saving the environment. You're eating a salad, you're not saving the animals or something like that. It doesn't work like that. There's a lot of delusion that goes into that style of eating. In other words, don't forge your identity around it. Optimize for your health. And if you are pretending like you're optimizing for your health while removing the most nutrient dense foods on the planet, you're just lying to yourself. It's like that double think. You're trying to hold two things in your head at the same time. It's just not working. So if you're having issues, address them. Sarah Monica, Papa Soy, how do I get so healthy and long hair? I get a lot of hair questions lately. Start eating better. Get quality sleep, get sunlight, eat a lot of healthy fats, proteins, collagen, bone broth. Things like that are fantastic. If you eat better food, your body will have better materials in order to have healthy hair, skin, nails. All those things matter. Of course, it's genetics as well. But even with my genetics, eating better has dramatically improved my hair, skin, and nails. I talk about this all the time. If I don't get sleep or if I eat certain things, I'll break out or I'll have certain kind of rashy or little, not acne, but kind of little bumps. I'll notice impurities in my skin or things from not getting quality sleep for a couple nights. It usually takes a few days or a week or two to come out. But if there's a period like that, I'll notice. And the more consistent you are, the more of these things. People try to do things topical all the time. How do I get healthier hair? Let me put things on my hair. Sure, that matters, but a lot of times you have weak and thinning hair to begin with because you're eating shit. You're stressed out like crazy. People lose their hair from stress. A lot of people have thinning hair and loss of hair from the vaccines. There's a lot of issues with pharmaceuticals, over-the-counter stuff, a lot of carcinogens and things like Tylenol and all these over-the-counter things that people pop like crazy. Not to mention the vegetable and seed oils and all these other inflammatory things that we consume. And plus, if you're going to use any kind of products, you want to get a company that's focusing things like moisturizer. You can get ones with grass-fed beef tallow. You can get products without phthalates and parabens and mineral oils and stabilizers and things like that. All right, let's get church. We got church in the scene. Hey, see in my sexy church. Let's see, the Tainty Man and the Tainty Man. Excellent. Excellent buppers. Excellent buppers. Let's see, we got questions. Papa Swolio, I want to eat my ice cream. From Gil. I want to eat my ice cream. I don't want to go to the gym. Okay. Enjoy your diabetes and being a fatty.
Matt Damon.
Enjoy being a lazy fatty. Oh, Papa Swolio, I want to eat my ice cream. I don't want to go to the gym. No one cares. If you're looking for, I don't know why you sent that to me. I don't care. I don't care what you want to do. Abhi Shek. Papa Swolio, what's the cheapest source of protein? How do you mean? In terms of what to purchase? Depends on the region. Sometimes you could buy in bulk. In terms of per pound, I don't know. You have to do the math on that, but you also have to factor in the side effects from eating garbage food. Grass-fed beef, eggs, sardines. There's a lot of great source of protein. Depends. It depends on where you're getting it. Some people have access to cheaper foods or good foods, less expensive. Shrek 4404. Papa Swolio, is white rice toxic garbage that should be kept out of my body? Should I eat a fucking steak instead? Well, I recommend you eat steak, but actually white rice isn't that bad. Just make sure you wash it and stuff first. Far superior to brown rice. That shit's disgusting, by the way. Brown rice is fucking gross. It's nasty. Just make sure you wash it. You can get quality white rice. You can rinse it. I wouldn't necessarily overdo it, but again, you can test these things and see how you feel. It's definitely not going to give you tons of nutrients, but you're training hard, lifting heavy. White rice can be an option. Funis user, Funis. I'm 15 years old. How much time do I go to gym to become really strong? Jesus Christ. Well, keep going to school. Keep going to school. That's for sure. How much time do I go to the gym? Do you need to go to the gym? I would start learning how to train properly. 15, 16 is a good time to start lifting and learning how to lift, for sure. And learn how to do it properly. Don't worry about the time and how often. Learn good form, watch videos, become a student of your body. Good for you. Good for you. Okay, let's see what we got here. Any other live questions? Good shit. Again, just a reminder, give a little more time for other questions to come in. Otherwise, we'll wrap up. We have an accountability meeting tomorrow, Monday, 12 noon Eastern time. Be there. Be there, fam. It's going to be awesome. So we'll be right here, but in the Daily Swole Telegram chat for members. New releases. If you didn't get your question answered today or you couldn't show up live, we'll take private member questions. We got one from Aaron. Can basmati rice cause the same eczema breakouts as jasmine? I'm working on targeting which rices are better other than white. I don't know. Anything can cause a reaction. Let's just put it that way. Everyone's different. Some people have like some sort of, could be genetic. Some people have issues with certain things for whatever reason. Test it. Test it. Learn how to make sure you wash your rice. You soak it. You can rinse it off. You want to wash it. So I would check it out. Get an organic rice. I think we have, I don't know if we have jasmine or basmati. We had it like a week or two ago. I think I got a little heartburn from it. I'm kind of uncertain if that's what caused it a little bit, but I haven't had it in months and then kind of sprinkle it in. I forget if we have basmati or white rice, but I would test it. You'll know if your breakouts or whatever go away, then you'll know what you remove. But that's the thing. If you're consistent with what you eat and then you remove one thing and something gets better, it's a sign that it points towards it. It's not guaranteed. Because if you're getting shitty sleep and then at the same time, you're like, okay, I need to figure out why I'm breaking out or why I have eczema. And then I'm going to remove jasmine rice and then you get better sleep. Is it the better sleep or is it the jasmine rice? You see what I'm saying? Anytime there's like an adjustment like that. And let's say you say, okay, I need to get this shit together. I'm starting to have a lot of skin issues. You remove jasmine rice, you start getting better sleep, and you change your face wash or something like that, or your body wash. Well, now you have more variables. So the more things you change at one time, the less you know. Now you can change those things. Hey, it got better. Well, that's great. And then after a while, like you're getting better sleep, you change your body wash. Okay, fine. Then you can add in after a few weeks, then you can try that, add the rice back in, and then it comes back. You're like, oh, that's likely the case. And then you remove it. Yeah, grass-fed beef liver for the win. Okay. Let's see here. What else we got, fam? What else we got? Aaron says, when I took out Jasmine, it went away. I'm not sure about Basmati. Haven't seen anything, but we'll pay more attention. That's all it is. A lot of times there's not an answer. There's not like, oh, that's going to cause a problem. So when I talk about spinach or kale and these things that I think are fucking disgusting, and I think have no business getting consumed, you know, it depends. Like you have to test them. Just like when we have any kind of programming, maybe you like 5 sets per body part. Maybe 8 is too much. Maybe you don't recover as quickly. This is where you have to test these things. And everyone wants, not saying all of you, but a lot of people, you ask a question, a lot of people want an answer, right? They're out there saying like, what should I do? What should I eat? If it was that simple, everyone would just have, okay, there'd be one way to eat. But obviously you can have a lot of different nuances. Does something irritate you? Does something irritate you enough that you're going to notice? Does it irritate you enough that you're going to notice and have to remove it? A lot of times people will eat foods and it can actually be causing them problems, just maybe not enough for them to notice. Or there's too many variables and they're not in connection with their body. They're not paying close enough attention and they don't, notice that that's likely what's causing. They feel like, oh, because I'm sitting down a lot or this, oh, that's why my knee hurts and that. And it just kind of always feels like tight and it could be joint inflammation from something. The more attention you're paying it, the more you'll be able to kind of find these nuances. So people want an answer. They don't actually want to put in the work, but that's what it's going to take. And yeah, it's like any kind of scientific study. The more variables you have, the harder it is to test. You're not going to be able to know what to point to. If you're eating whatever and you're like, hey, Papa Swolio, I have a lot of these skin problems. What should I do? You're doing nothing. You're not exercising. You're not getting good sleep. You're not getting sunlight. You're eating a lot of vegetable oils and seed oils and gluten and processed sugar. And you're on your phone and stuff late at night. You're stressed out. Like where the fuck you don't have any water filters on your shower heads, or you're drinking tap water. And like, who the fuck knows what's going on? Right? How the fuck am I going to know? Is everything? That's why it's good to start changing these habits. Like you're putting on Axe body spray and Old Spice deodorant and all these colognes and perfumes and fucking fragrances that are packed full of phthalates. Like you're just covering yourself in thousands of chemicals every day. So I don't know what the fuck it is. You can't just point to one thing. There could be a major culprit, but it's usually kind of cumulative in many cases. And some of these things build up in your fat cells, like they're stored and over time, and a lot of times when you make a change, it doesn't all of a sudden, hey, it goes away immediately. That's nice. That's nice if you change something and boom, you notice it right away. That's great. A lot of you might have that experience. You change something and it fucking goes away. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I hope that's the case, but it's not always the case. Sometimes it takes a few weeks or a few months. Some of these things have to work their way out of your system. Sometimes they're stored and they're released slowly. But if you get rid of a lot of this extra body fat, a lot of things that might get stored and trapped in the body fat and the fat cells, they'll get released and removed over time. Granola bars. Nasty. Gross. Gross. Fuck your granola. That's a new shirt. Fuck your granola. Everyone hit that thumbs up button. Man, where is everyone today? Where is everyone today? Where is everyone today? I don't get any fucking reach on this, huh? I don't get any reach. Get no distribution. No distribution. They don't let anyone know. With that many followers on the channel, get the fuck out of here. My shit doesn't show up for anything. It's okay. You can catch it later. Fam, let's get this swole card. Make America Swole. Here we go. It's all good. Yeah! All right, Falcon, take us away. Here we go. Make America Swole. Mas. Always mas. All right. I love it. I love the addition of the snowflakes. Michelle Clifford, congratulations.
Congratulations!
I like the snowflakes. I like the flair. I like the flair. Michelle, send us an email to support@swolenormous.com, Swole card 2683 in the subject, mailing address in the body of the email, and we'll send you this Swole card. Congratulations.
The Almighty says, don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
The eyes, Chico. They never lie.
Attacks on me, quite frankly, are attacks on science.
You can be fat and be healthy. I'm sorry, Lizzo, healthier than I will ever be.
Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn!
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water. They turn the friggin' frogs gay.
I like to caress rusty stones.
Because chickens? You made me happy.
A jelly donut?
But I want my own ass! I want my own ass!
Chlorophyll? More like chlorophyll.
Who told you to keep my cookies?
What is the best move to silence a woman?
I am very willing to let the American public judge my physical and mental my physical as well as my mental fitness.
You switch the samples.
I got hairy legs.
Another example of cake gender would be if someone feels like they have different layers or flavors to their particular gender.
Coast to coast. Ooh, I got it. Thank you so much, everyone. Love it. All right, fam. Join us, swolenormousx.com tomorrow. Accountability meeting 12 noon Eastern time. We will see you there tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern time. swolenormousx.com. Join the fam today. Peace, McGeese. Deuce, Magoose. Your boy, Papa Swolio. Out.
Crazy flow, need a straight jacket. Cash flow, I'm a bank addict. 6 subs, had the bass smacking. 808s, had the place clapping. 3 girls is enough for me, so I pull out like the stock crashing. Like an IPO, trying to purchase me. This a private sector, so you can't have it. Faking all that boom bapping. Who you think you is, boy? 90s want they sound back, so I give rap all these fake rappers as I take matters in my own hands. I don't need rapping, I don't need Zans. I don't need help, I'm a grown man. Now they king left and they so mad, it's like
then yeah, I found that young king with my crown at 10 racks in the fanny pack, couple hundred in the Louis bag.
That's a bed that you made. That's a bed that you made. That's a bed that you laid. What kind of game is you playing? We go hard in the paint you. What the fuck is you saying? I only go where they pay. What kind of game is you playing? Yeah, whoa, my shit is relevant. Off topic, my melanin is popping. I'm taking skeletons on closets and making